Let me ask you a question. How would an interdimensional being introduce himself to Earth? How would they contact all of humanity if they didn't want to go through the governments? Is there any other way? Well, in 1977, it may have happened.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder and funny. It's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
We're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us.
There would be a shift in the knowledge of humanity, of new knowledge.
What the hell is going on?
Have you ever heard the song Starman? The 1972 classic from David Bowie. The song is about an alien interrupting a rock and roll station and giving a message of hope to the youth of humanity. And then at the end of the song, it refers to doing that to a TV station as well. It's one of my favorite David Bowie songs. It's a really cool concept and a great tune. But the funny part is that 5 years after that song was written and got famous, an event very similar to that, almost exactly, actually happened. Now this is crazy. I haven't heard too many people talk about this. There's not a ton of videos and stuff to read on it. There's a bit. But this event, I think, is just very bizarre. And it's one of my favorite ones. So I want you to picture this. It's 1977. You're in England. It's a Saturday evening. You're turn on the telly, the 5 o'clock news, and you're watching just regular, normal, boring news. I think the newscaster was talking about Zimbabwe. And then about 10 minutes in, the signal's interrupted. The screen goes just a little bit blurry, and you hear this voice. And for 6 minutes, he gives a message of warning, but ultimately peace for humanity if we will heed the message he has. And then the message ends with the song at the ends of Looney Tunes. I'll put a clip in later if you're familiar with that, which is hilarious. Now, they never caught who did this, and no one ever claimed responsibility for it. So theories are that it was just a prank or possibly a UFO cult. They had UFO cults were around at that time, and they did preach a similar message as the one that interrupted the news station. But my question is, could it have been something else? Could it have been an interdimensional being trying to contact humanity to help us? Why is that so outrageous? Think of all the world religions. Christianity has 2.38 billion. Islam has almost 2 billion. Hinduism has over 1 billion. Buddhism has 500 million. Folk religions have 430 million. Other religions have 61 million, and Judaism has 14.6 million. All those religions have one thing in common. They all believe they are getting directions from interdimensional beings about what reality is and how we should live and exist in this reality and what's going on beyond this reality. Oh, and you know what else they have in common? They all believe they got these directions thousands of years ago, and that they have some type of book that they have to cling to now Well, my question is, what if one of these interdimensional beings wanted to get in contact with humanity again? What would they do? How would they do it? You see, in the past, they would have had to contact the leaders. You look in Judaism and Christianity, Moses was a leader. God contacted Moses and Abraham, and these, Islam, I guess it would have been Muhammad. It was some sort of, they contact a leader, and then through then the leaders relay that to the people. Well, they don't need to contact our leaders anymore, because they can contact every single person on Earth. If billions of people believe that this could have happened in the past, why is it we are so reluctant to believe that it could happen now? Has something been planted in our human psyche that we believe interaction with interdimensional beings could have happened in the past, but we don't believe it could happen now? So today we're going to look at this actual event that happened and just look at it with an open mind. Now I'm going to break the message down to hear what he actually had to say, and let's just see what this interdimensional being had to say to Earth. What was so important that he had to interrupt the news to get this message out? So here is the message of Vrillon. He starts off with, "This is the voice of Vrillon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. For many years, you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom, as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on our worlds around you." So he comes with a message of peace to all of humanity, really, but also a warning. The destiny of your race and your world. So he's saying that we're headed on some type of path towards destruction, which really is not hard to see with the Cold War and nuclear weapons and everything that's brought to us. And he's urging us to communicate to, he says, your fellow beings, the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on our worlds around you. Now that part where he says the beings on our worlds around you is very interesting. I've listened to scientists and even Eric Weinstein talk about the fact that they think that when we detonate atomic weapons, that not only ripples through our world, but that ripples through dimensions and other worlds that are around us that we're not aware of. And he's urging us to communicate to our fellow humans the course that we must take in order to avoid destruction. Back to the message. This is an order that you may share in the Great Awakening as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only if your rulers are made aware of the evil forces that can overshadow their judgments. Be still now and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are a part may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. So let's break that part down. So he first starts off with it, there's a great awakening that's coming as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. Now, you may be wondering what the age of Aquarius is. Well, it's a zodiac sign because there is this 26,000 year cycle of precession that's broken down into 12 zodiac signs or astrological ages. This means that every couple thousand years there is a new sign. When we've passed through all 12 astrological ages, we've passed through a full cycle. Astrologers refer to this as the great age through which we are passing. Now you may be thinking, big deal. Well, it may be kind of a big deal because there is an idea or a thought that as this planet's north node is pointing to different planets in the galaxy as a part of that 26,000 year precession, that every 2,000 years, the top of the Earth basically is pointing at a different planet or star system. And as it points at these different star systems, it affects the consciousness of humanity. So Vrillon is warning us that as this new age approaches, as we come into the age of Aquarius, we need to take specific actions in order for us to avoid destruction. Let's see what else Vrillon has to say. He goes on to say that you are free to accept or reject their teachings, but only those who learn to live in peace will pass to the higher realms of spiritual evolution. Hear now the voice of Vrillon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. Be aware also that there are many false prophets and guides operating in your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends and give you worthless dross in return. Your inner divine self will protect you from this. You must learn to be sensitive to the voice within that can tell you what is truth and what is confusion, chaos, and untruth. Learn to listen to the voice of truth which is within you, and you will lead yourselves onto the path of evolution. This is our message to our dear friends. We have watched your growing for many years, as you too have watched our lights in your skies. So he's warning that there are false teachers, and that they will, I like the line where he says, they will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends and give you worthless dross in return. That's something that reminds me of in the first part of Revelation in the Bible. It sounds very much like a biblical type message. And then he tells us to go within, that we need to listen to hear our inner divine self. To me, that's basically saying you have to have a spiritual life. You have to have an internal, some type of meditative practice of going within to get wisdom, direction, knowledge. I mean, really, this feels like I'm doing a Bible study. But, all right, let's get back to it. He goes on to say, you know now that we are here, and that there are more beings on and around your Earth than your scientists admit. Oh, that's cool. We are deeply concerned about you and your path towards the light, and will do all we can to help you. Have no fear. Seek only to know yourselves and live in harmony with the ways of your planet Earth. We of the Ashtar Galactic Command thank you for your attention. We are now leaving the plane of your existence. May you be blessed by the supreme love and truth of the cosmos. Wow, that part was great. So he's saying there that there are more beings on and around your Earth than your scientists admit. So according to him, some of our scientists and our governments know that there's something going on and that reality is different than what we've been told. That's pretty cool. I mean, the amount of scientists and former NASA and even some current NASA employees saying that the way we look at the universe and reality is not correct, and that there is all kinds of stuff going on that would blow your mind. You know, I always tell people, the only reason you don't believe in aliens or just in reality being different than what we've been told is because you've never looked into it. There is so much evidence that I guarantee if anybody takes the time to look into these things, they will change their mind if they are using rationality to come to their conclusions about what's going on. He then ends his message with telling us not to have fear, seek only to know ourselves, and live in harmony with the ways of your planet Earth. And I mean, that's a beautiful message. I mean, really, that is the message of Jesus. All of those points on there are everything that Jesus taught, which is kind of funny. I have listened to and read so many stories of people interacting with aliens, and the aliens' advice is to just follow the teachings of Jesus. That there is no one religion, but if they just follow the teachings of Jesus, they'll be fine. And then to finish off this whole message, this part is hilarious because the ending for Looney Tunes comes on.
That's all, folks.
What a sense of humor. I guess that's a classic Vrillon for you. No, it's interesting that they used Looney Tunes. I mean, what does loony mean? Loony is from the word lunatic, which you think of insane asylums, going crazy. To me, everything about this message is just pushing the limits of reality. You know, and not to mention that the word lunatic comes from the word luna, which means moon. And it's from the belief that changes of the moon in the moon cycle cause insanity, or basically that the moon affects our consciousness. Okay, so now you got the gist of what happened. So basically, the news was on, the signal was interrupted by an alien, supposedly, with a message of hope for humanity, which is very similar to David Bowie's song Starman, which came out 5 years earlier. It was really the same scenario. The radio was interrupted with a message of hope for humanity. Now, the big question, of course, is who did it? Well, I guess there's only two options. Was it a human, or was it an alien? Well, in the media, it was written off as a prank, although they never found the person responsible for it, and no one ever claimed responsibility for doing it. The next question is, how hard would it be in 1977 to hijack a television signal? Well, I've listened to some people who've said it would be very expensive and you would need quite a bit of money to do it. And I've listened to others who would say all you need is a car battery and some know-how and you could have done it. So if it was a prank, I mean, it really wasn't very funny. I mean, are they Are they sitting there at home watching that play out and laughing to themselves, thinking, look at that, mate. We just made everybody think that aliens have a message of peace for humanity. That would be one dry sense of humor. Another theory that people have is that it wasn't so much as a prank as there were, for the lack of a better term, I guess they call them UFO cults. Now, this message did really go hand in hand with what these UFO cults that are all over the world at the time believed. Now, UFO cults are a whole other podcast, but they basically originated with a guy from California named George Van Tassel, who in the, I think, late 40s or early 50s, he had a UFO land at this desert airport that he had, and he called them the Space Brothers, and they had a message of peace for humanity. And from what I've read, it was pretty similar to what Vrillon said. So maybe that may well be. And you could see someone being inspired by the David Bowie song Starman to give them the idea of carrying that out in real life. But if they did, they got away with it. They were never found, and they never took credit for it. But if this was aliens, how would you know? I mean, they didn't find who did it. Nobody claimed to have done it. How would we know if it was aliens? Well, this sounds like a job for Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a type of thinking tool that scientists and all different types of ists use to solve problems. It says when there are two competing theories to describe something, the simplest of the two is usually the correct one. Another way to say it is the simplest, most elegant explanation is usually the one closest to the truth. So this situation is perfect for Occam's razor. We have something that happened and two competing theories for how did it happen. One, it was interdimensional beings contacting humanity, or two, it was some type of prank or UFO cult, but essentially a human that did it. Now, of course, right now you're thinking, well, the choice is clear. The simplest explanation is that a human did it. Well, but wait a minute. Why is an interdimensional being contacting the human race to try and save it from its impending doom? Why is that complex? Is that more complex than a human playing some type of prank? And right now you're saying, duh, of course that's way more simple. Are you insane? Oh, I know. Because we've never seen one? Probably, that's what most of us would come to. We've never seen one. So how do we know that they exist? Well, I've never seen an interdimensional being yet. Lord knows I've tried. But I haven't. But what I have had happen throughout my life since I was a kid was I've had things that have happened to me that I can't explain. I've had many times throughout my life where I would, for some reason, know something, and then it would happen minutes to even years later. And it's almost like I've been interacting with another dimension, and I think that is one way to explain any one of you who is listening that have had things happen in your life you can't explain. Things you've known or whatever, or maybe you have seen something. But we've always written it off as the spooky or the spiritual realm when it may be as simple as interacting with another dimension. I mean, look at all of these religions that billions and billions of people in the world adhere to as belief systems, and they all have the same root of interacting with interdimensional beings. But for some reason, we just, I think, collectively agree that it just doesn't happen anymore. So because of that thought, that makes the idea of entertaining the television interruption being attributed to aliens because it is seen as more complex, because we collectively believe that it can't happen. But I agree. By applying Occam's razor, it's the most simplest explanation is that a human did it. But maybe we should question the tool. Is that the right tool to use? Well, I did some digging, and I found something. William Occam is the guy we get the famous Occam's razor from. He was a 14th century friar in England. Now, he studied science at a time when everything was explained through theology, from the way they saw the stars, the way they viewed animals, and just the nature of our reality. It was all through the theology of their religion. So what he did is he labeled metaphysical and spiritual things that were relating to God as basically they are there, but they are unknowable. So he created this razor to divide the physical world from the spiritual world. So therefore, the spiritual world, or things that we can't see, are more complex. So by applying his principle, we can forget about it. So it's saying that there is no difference between something that exists and is invisible and something that doesn't exist at all. I'm going to read you something from Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time. He says, "We could still imagine that there is a set of laws that determines events completely for some supernatural being who could observe the present state of the universe without disturbing it. However, such models of the universe are not of much interest to us mortals. It seems better to employ the principle known as Occam's razor and cut off all the features of the theory that cannot be observed." It's like, are you serious, dude? Such models of the universe are not of much interest to us mortals? Speak for yourself. Now that's programming us not to question things that we can't see, even though they actually exist. Now, I don't know how it works, how intentional this was done, but I do know that Occam's razor has been used to keep metaphysical and spiritual concepts and ideas away from us. And we don't even question it. You can listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson on all the different podcasts and programs. You can listen to him for hours and hours and hours about all the information that he has on the cosmos. But when it comes to metaphysical things and consciousness and things we can't see, he doesn't know anything at all, and we're perfectly fine with that. How is that even acceptable? But he gets away with it because of Occam's razor. If they don't have a tool to measure it, it's like it doesn't exist at all. Well, that's why aliens and this whole UFO topic is so interesting. Because in order for them to acknowledge they exist, they have to change our definition of what reality is. In other words, what we think is going on is not what's going on. Anywho, so back to the story. What does that mean with what we've talked about today? Well, I don't know. There is no evidence, apparently, that a human did it. There is no evidence that an alien did it. So all we can do is look at it and decide for ourselves. So maybe Occam's razor isn't the tool for us. Maybe we should do a WWVD. What would Vrillon do? Well, let's see here. I think we know what Vrillon would do. He would do what he told us to do. Know that our inner divine self will protect us, that we must learn to be sensitive to the voice within that can tell you what is truth and what is confusion, chaos, and untruth, that we need to learn to listen to the voice of truth which is within us and will lead us onto the path of evolution. I think we all just need to listen to the Starman.